Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about the latest and probably the final chapter of this story around that brawl that we saw down in Alabama, how the white voters have pled guilty. And you know what? I'll share with you what happened with the black co-captain that got it all kicked off. Also, let's talk about the motive for the stabbing of former police officer Derek Chauvin. Folks, this story is one thing, okay? He got stabbed 22 times while in a correctional facility. But let me tell you the reason why. You cannot believe this. This is a very, very interesting story. Later on, we check in with our medical expert, Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness, as we talk about everything from the latest around gene therapy. Dressing up for the doctor is a must for black people, and the mental health effects of colorism. Thank you, Nick Cannon, for that. We'll talk a little bit about that and all of that and a whole lot more. Of course, we want you to join us in the conversation. So get ready to get it in with us. Happy Monday, folks, and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the welcome to the culture. We're kicking it off. Welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. As always, we truly, truly appreciate it. We got a lot to cover, but I want to give a big shout out to our online culture crew. First and foremost, folks, happy Monday. Let's give a little something for the Monday. There we go. We're kicking off the beginning of the week, and we're going to kick it off on a high note today. But big shout out to my online culture crew that's gathering in the chat right now. There we go. If you haven't had a chance to jump into the conversation, you can do so right now as we're streaming right now on Roland Martin's YouTube page. Just go to Roland Martin's YouTube page, jump into the chat, and be a part of the culture crew for the day. But we got folks that's already in the chat getting themselves ready to be a part of these conversations. Big shout out to the crew. Pastor Damon Blissett kicking us off. Hey, King and Queens. I see you, Pastor. Thank you so much. And I hope all is well with you and your family during this time, brother. So our hearts and prayers are with you. Ming Lee, Natasha Surge, I see you. Thank you so much for checking in. Francesca Epps, checking in all the way from the great city of Houston, Texas. Houston, home of Roland Martin. Francesca, thank you so much. Deidre Hall, I see you. Thank you so for checking in. Boza Blix, good to connect with you once again. Pauline Hurt, it's always good to connect with you. Thank you. Hey, Tiana, love to connect with you. I see you. Young Grinder, 12. I thank you so much for checking in. We truly appreciate that. Who else we got here in the chat? Janelle Fields, my sister Janelle. Good afternoon, culture crew. Good afternoon, Janelle. Good to connect with you. My sister Karen Connor is in the chat as well. Good to connect with you. And Darian's Door, ATL, can't you tell? All up in here. Darian's Door, thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Young Grinder. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Young Grinder. 12, thank you so much for having me. So I appreciate you for tuning in. Folks, again, you can join us right now on Roland Martin's YouTube page as we're streaming right there live on YouTube. Also, you can also join us on Facebook, post your comments on there, and we'll see you on our Facebook page under Roland Martin as well. We're also streaming on our homepage of blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app, follow us on social media. And of course, we love to get your financial support of the work that we're doing here. So go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. We're also streaming live on Amazon platforms, Amazon News or your Fire TV, Amazon Prime Video. You can find us there on the Prime Video app under Live TV, the news, and find us on Amazon.com, Prime Video, Live TV, the news. All right. And we're also on Freevee, that great network. Thank you so much, Freevee, for your support of us and the work we're doing. And on Flex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Black Star Network on Flex TV, or find us under Live TV, the news and opinions. All right, folks, let me kick it off right here as we talk a little bit about the latest around what happened down in this Brawl. Y'all remember that brawl with the white chair and people coming out, the brother coming out the water? Well, this may be the final chapter of this whole saga and case that was kicked off that drew national attention a few months ago. And it has been confirmed that two white voters on this past Friday, pled guilty to harassment charges in connection with the Alabama riverfront brawl. A judge on Thursday also dismissed a charge filed by one of the white voters against the riverboat co-captain. Y'all remember the black man who was the riverboat co-captain, threw his hat up in the air, and then they started to say that he was in some way, shape, or form, he instigated the whole situation. Well, the judge, and that he hit someone and committed assault. Well, that judge dismissed the charges filed against him. The Montgomery Police Department said, quote, the co-captain was a victim in the assaults. He was a victim in the assaults. Now, this latest set of guilty pleas, folks, concludes the last of the criminal cases brought against four white voters in connection with the melee. According to the reports, the two men were ordered to complete an anger management class and then perform community service. They will not serve any jail time unless they violate their probation terms. But this may be the end of that situation. I think folks can finally kind of like let it go a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if it still carries the same amount of significance. I mean, I think it was just a major big moment in the culture and the conversation, especially around race relations. But, as we had here on the show, and I got to take my first pause, but as we had here on the show, we had our brothers and sisters from Birmingham and from other places around Alabama around to talk to us about this. And, they had their major election. They reelected the black mayor down there in Birmingham. And I don't know if it made a difference. Not sure if it made a huge difference. It was a big cultural moment, but not sure if it was a big difference. But this is the last of the criminal charges. So we will have to see if something else comes out of this. But I mean, it's interesting. At least the co-captain. Here's the thing, folks. At least the co-captain kind of walks away scot-free, right? I mean, he shouldn't have been charged with assault anyway. So I'm glad that the Montgomery, and I said Birmingham, I meant Montgomery, folks. Montgomery police didn't, do something really, really crazy out of that situation. So big shout out to, justice in that respect. But it's over. I think it's over. And, I think we can kind of move it on and just look at that as one of those another big cultural moments. Pauline, you said they should be made to give a public apology for assaulting the co-captain. I hear you, Pauline. But the odds of that actually happening, very slim to none. Yeah, that's not happening. I don't think that's going to happen. But I hear you. I think something should be said, but I don't think that's going to happen. But look, it's moved on. We're at this point. They pled guilty. The co-captain is cleared of any charges. Life goes on. All right, folks. Look, we got to take our first pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit about something that I thought was very interesting, which is this situation around the stabbing of Derek Chauvin, the former police officer who was responsible for killing George Floyd. He was stabbed in a correctional facility a couple of weeks ago, 22 times, folks. But wait till you hear the details as to why the stabbing took place. I'm going to share with you the details. And I'm going to just pose the question, does this sound not fishy, but this sounds interesting. So I'll share with you the details of that. Stay with us. We're just getting started right here on today's edition of The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversations. Let's first talk a little bit about this story that I thought was very, very interesting. Now, if you did not know, former police officer Derek Chauvin, the one that was responsible for killing George Floyd, he, of course, was sent to prison. And a couple of weeks ago, the report came out that he was stabbed multiple times, folks, multiple times. Matter of fact, he was stabbed 22 times while in prison. And there was a lot of conversation as to the motive, who was responsible for the stabbing, and of course, but now it seems like a person has come forward to admit that he was trying to kill Derek Chauvin. His name is John Tursak, and according to the latest reports, Mr. Tursak is an ex-Mexican mafia member. This story gets very, very interesting. And I want to share with you the first part of this. Let's post quote one, please, Lise, of Mr. Tursak's story. This ex-Mexican mafia member was identified by Tucson, Arizona federal corrections officers as the person who attacked Chauvin the day after Thanksgiving, leaving him with 22 stab wounds. Now, prosecutors say if the guards didn't break up the altercation, Chauvin would have died. According to the criminal complaint, Tursak told FBI investigators that he had been thinking about the assault for a month prior to the incident. He told investigators he chose Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving when shops bring sale events, for his attack because it was symbolic with the Black Lives Matter movement and the black hand symbol associated with the Mexican mafia criminal organization, according to FBI agents who interviewed him on November 26. What? 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 So Mr. Turskak thought that he was going to do this deed as a result of a form of solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Wow. 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 Now, this is very, very interesting. Now, here's the thing about this. Let me just share this with you. And I would love to know, your take on this, crew, because when I started to read this, I was like, wait a minute. I did not even know that the Mexican mafia had any particular views around Black Lives Matter, let alone a person like this. Now, he's an Mexican mafia member. So I don't know, maybe they didn't, and then he kind of broke away, and then he ended up, we don't know the rank or anything like that of Mr. Turskak, but very, very interesting to say the least. Very interesting. So he did this. Now, here's the thing about this. As an ex-Mexican mafia group, the interesting thing is that, especially a person who says that he wanted to kind of show support, quote unquote, for Black Lives Matter, this is a little bit unusual because part of the issues that have been happening here in Southern California for decades has been the warfare between Black and brown street organizations. And it's a long running history here in Los Angeles and in other cities in Southern California that Black and brown street organizations, gangs, and mafias, they just weren't on the same page with one another, which makes this thing even interesting. It weren't on the same page. And let me just share with you. Let me do this. Let's take another quick pause. When I come forward, I'm going to share with you a little bit more of why this is interesting, giving you some context around this based on two individuals who have been kind of chronicling this history in Southern California, and why this is a very interesting thing. And what does this say? What does this mean? Does this mean that there's going to be some form of solidarity between Black and brown behind the prison walls? Should we expect that same type of quote unquote support to happen into the streets? What does this mean? And I would love to get your take on this, crew. Look, gotta take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit more about this, and I'm gonna share with you some more details to give you another greater context. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together, so let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I've been talking about this interesting new development in the case of the stabbing of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, the one responsible for killing George Floyd in 2020. Derek Chauvin was stabbed 22 times just a couple of weeks ago, almost was killed in the process. But because of correctional officers stepping into the act at the time, his life was spared. According to his attorneys, they say he's alive and stable after that attack. Now, what was the motive for the attack? Now that's the new information that's being revealed. That's the latest development in this case. And it looks like a gentleman by the names of Mr. John Turskat, who said he is an ex-Mexican mafia member, said that he's the one responsible for the stabbing. And the reason is because he wanted to make a point. He wanted to use Black Friday when the stabbing took place on November 26th. He said that he chose that day for a reason, because it was symbolic with the Black Lives Matter movement and the black hand symbol associated with the Mexican mafia criminal organization, according to his interview with FBI agents. Now, the thing about this case, or this part of the case, this development that is interesting, is that the Mexican mafia have traditionally been at war with black folks, and I'm saying with other like black gangs. That's the surprising part about this, that the relationship that the Mexican mafia has had with black people is not a good relationship. And this came up as two gentlemen by the name of San Quiones and Pierre Kiefer. They wrote a piece for LA Magazine where they talked about how the gang was born in the 50s behind the prison bars, and how they often went toe-to-toe, quote unquote, with black gangs. Let me post this quick. Let's go to quote 2, please. Take a look at this. According to Mr. Quiones and Peter Kiefer, when they wrote this piece for LA Magazine, they say they also, and this is key, talking about the Mexican mafia, they went to war with black gangs throughout the prison system. When they weren't battling one another, the brown and black inmates maintained an almost Jim Crow-like segregation, using separate water fountains, separate showers, and separate telephones, not so much as bumming a cigarette from one another. This is deep. And the relationship between black and brown, especially in Southern California, and I'm sure it's in other areas of the country like Texas and some of the other areas where you have um, a combination and mixture of black and brown communities together. New York, I'm thinking about Chicago was another place. There are these pockets around the country of black and brown folks where there's some sense of community, and then in other cases, there's warfare. And so this is very, very interesting. So Mr. Quiones and Mr. Kiefer talked about the fact that this racial rivalry went from the prison system into the streets and created decades of black versus brown violence across Southern California. What's your take on this, folks? Do you believe this is the case? Now, I also got to share with you. Here's the part that really caught my attention. Mr. Turskak, he's facing charges of attempted murder, assault with the intent to commit murder, assault with a dangerous weapon, and assault resulting in bodily injury. He's already serving a 30-year sentence for crimes during his run as an FBI informant. According to the court documents. So he has all these charges, he has this major sentence, and he's an FBI informant, and now he has admitted to committing this attack. What's your take on this, crew? How does this story bode with you? Does it sound fishy? Does it sound like it could be possible? What's going through your mind? Look, got to take another quick pause when we come forward. I'd love to get your take on it. Post your comments on Roland Martin's YouTube page as we're in the chat, as we're having this discussion. And do you think that this could be something that could open the conversation around black and brown unity? Does this push that conversation back even more? Has it become a problem? Is this guy just, you know what I mean, kind of making things up? He, like I said, he said this to the FBI. He told them to the FBI. So I'm sure they have done some investigation around who he is and his involved in his history. But how does this fit with you? This is very interesting, right? How does this fit for you? Post your comments. We'll share your thoughts. And of course, continue to tune in as we are talking about this issue right here on the culture, on the on the Black Star Network. There we go. Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. We're talking about the case of the stabbing of Derek Chauvin, the former police officer who killed George Floyd, and how his attacker has now come forth to say why he decided to move in on the former police officer. Now, Mr. John Turskak, has been plotting and planning this attack for a month before he actually committed it on November the 26th of this year on Black Friday. And his point of doing it, he wanted to do it on Black Friday as a stand of, he didn't use the term solidarity, but he simply just made it known that he was going to make a statement on the behalf of what was symbolic with the Black Lives Matter movement and the black hand symbol, which is a symbol that's used within the Mexican mafia, a symbol, some people say that that's the symbol of death, that's associated with the Mexican mafia criminal organization. Now, Mr. Turskak, who is already serving 30 years, who already has a long list of other charges, and who is an FBI informant, is saying that he did this the way he did it because he wanted to make that stand. I don't know how this sounds like, which is why I wanted to bring it to you, crew, because of course we're still talking about Derek Chauvin. We're still talking about, what happened. He could have killed that man. And I'm speaking of Turskak could have killed Derek Chauvin. But the fact is that he is making a major, major statement. And I don't know who he is. I don't know if we can say, do you believe him or not believe him? Because the FBI talked to him, the correctional officers were all there. It's just a the case just went from interesting to light into a whole different space. All right, let me get what you have to say on this, crew, because many of y'all are checking in and I truly, truly appreciate it. Janelle, my sister, you said, don't be sucked in by the irony. This act was about Turskak and his shine. He was not acting as any kind of ally. It's interesting. And see, something like this, bringing in Black Lives Matter to come in like this, here's what I was thinking about this, Janelle and crew. That if he did that on the behalf of Black Lives Matter, what does that sound like to you? It sounds like Black Lives Matter could have been possibly behind this, just as much as the Mexican mafia could have possibly been behind this. But if the Mexican mafia, and I was just sharing with you what two researchers and writers of that gang had to say about how historically Mexican mafia and black gangs have been at war with one another, then it seems kind of interesting that a quote unquote Mexican mafia member would stand in support and solidarity with a black organization. Interesting. That's all I'm saying. We're processing it, folks. This is very, very interesting. So, Janelle, I thank you so much. Anastasia, you say Mexico and people of color have history, and it goes back for years, if not centuries, when the pale-faced European came into place. They told lies, and that helped separate the friendship between us. That's always been the case. That's always been the case, Anastasia. That's part of the reason why the work, and y'all know me, like on this platform, I'm open to having those conversations about improving the relationship between the Black and brown community, because I do know that at the root of it is white supremacy, is lies, it's deception. It's a lot of other stuff, but so many of us, and I'm speaking of us individually, we may have Latino blood. Some of us are Afro Latino, right? Some of us are whose parents come from that part, or grandparents may come from that part. And it's all silly. It's very, very silly for us to be in a place where both groups of people are subjected to white supremacy the way we're subjected to it. Were Latinos brought into chattel slavery? No. But at the end of the day, were Mexicans brought into chattel slavery? No. But at the end of the day, we are both at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, especially like in places like California and Texas. You really do start to see the condition of Black and brown communities being at the bottom. So white supremacy has always been at the root of that, and it has kept us separated, right? And which is why I think that this is so interesting, to say the least. So Anastasia, I truly appreciate you making that point. Sean Ryan, you said what cartel was he in? I don't know. He just said he was a part of the Mexican mafia. And I might be saying this incorrectly, so I don't want to say, but they say there is a group, I think it's called Lamer, or La M. I think that's what it's called, Los M. And they are considered to be one of the top Mexican mafia organizations out there. So it's always interesting. Kathleen Davis, you said, I have always found protection from my Mexican friends and neighbors, even from abusive Black men. Wow. Now, I know, Kathleen, you're out here in LA with me. So that is very, very interesting that you found protection and neighbors even from abusive Black men. Wow. Pretty Brown Mimi 726. Good to connect with you, Mimi. Thank you. I hope you had a great weekend. You said, Farajii, this is fishier than a can of tuna. This guy wanted notoriety. Yeah, I'm with you a little bit on the fishiness of this whole situation. I'm definitely with you on the fishiness of this thing. Like, if this is already, if this is a situation. And I know a couple of you were asking about Derek Chauvin being in the type of security for him to even be stabbed for 22 times, right? Just kind of check the notes, and my team has brought up the information that the prison that they're staying in Tucson, Arizona, is a minimum security, is a medium security prison, medium security. So, and Sean, you put that down. It is a medium security prison. So, there are some serious restrictions, but it's a person can still get access to other people. You don't like my music. You said most of these people are getting out of prison one day, right? It would behoove us to make sure that they were better people coming out instead of worse. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. But does this situation, will this add to or take away from the relationship that currently stands between Black and brown communities? And y'all, and again, I'm going back to something that I said to myself that I would use this platform for, which is I want us to have deeper, greater conversations to connect the two communities so that way we can get a better understanding. Now, of course, having those conversations on this platform in this way, it's not going to change everything, but at least for us, for those of you who watch this show, you can have a better understanding of the importance of having that camaraderie, that allyship, having that connection to another group of people. And it's always interesting to me, and I think, Kathleen, you can understand this, and those of us who live within communities where we aren't the majority. I live in a community where I'm not, as a black man, I'm not the majority in the community in the sense of compared to Mexicans and Latinos and South Americans and Guatemalans and Oaxacans. You know, when you have that type of situation, you have to have an open mind to understand the pain and the struggle and just the overall journey of a people, of all those different types of people. Because if you walk around in Los Angeles and act as if, oh man, this stuff, no, no, black, 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 you're going to be sadly mistaken. If you walk around in some of these places, Kathleen, I think you can, and Karen, y'all know, walk around here and act as if there aren't all these other groups of people in your same living areas, your same community, your next door neighbors, and all of that, and you don't understand the struggle, you're going to feel completely lost and left behind. So it is what it is. Pauline, my sister, you said you reap what you sow, right? Who asked this? Let me see something. Something here. I saw one of you post in the comments saying that all of these black people are in prison, but only this Mexican man is the one that stepped up to deal with this situation. And I'm not calling for no violence against somebody, but I think that it is an interesting question or interesting point. That here is this man who has killed a black man, and the one who quote unquote steps up in retaliation of that, of what he did, was a Mexican, not another black man. Y'all take that how you want to take it. Y'all take that to how you want to take it. But it's interesting to say the least. Let me see here. Kathleen, you said obviously you don't know who live in those nice houses, understanding how this whole thing works out. Look, and then Willie, you said the informant part means he's not part of the cartel anymore. So I would believe the cops charged with crimes and informants would be together. The only person who can get Chauvin was him. Again, this shines a light, and I think you're bringing up an excellent point, Brother Willie. This shines a light on the fact of who put him up to this. Because you're right, if he's already an informant, he's already working in cooperation with the police, he wouldn't get in as much trouble, say as somebody, if one of us decided to pull a stunt like that, right? Because he's already into their system and has helped them and all of that stuff, right? So to your point, Brother Willie, yeah. But it's interesting. Very, very interesting. But I'm still a little leery about the connection with Black Lives Matter and the Black Hand. I'm like, because now you're putting Black Lives Matter into a situation that they didn't ask you to do that. They didn't call for you to do that. But now Black Lives Matter is running stuff behind prison walls. Like they got clout and influence behind the prison walls. Very, very interesting to say the least. So I don't know what to do with that. We're gonna just put this right. I'm gonna just put this like right there. Just because I'm still trying to process it. I don't know if this is a man just talking out the side of his neck, or this is the man that's saying, look, at this point, we're gonna try to do something different. Black and brown folks are going to start working together. The solidarity is going to begin behind the prisons first, and it's going to spill over into the streets. I don't know. We will have to see. Look, it's an interesting plot twist, and we will have to figure out. If y'all figure it out, y'all let me know. So shoot me an email or send me a DM or something. Because I'm like, I don't know how to handle how we should look at that situation. But I do think that if nothing else comes out of this, this is a great opportunity for us to continue to build the relationship to bridge the divide between Black and brown communities. Now, in your area, if there is not a major divide, that's one thing. But if in other areas, if it's a problem, let's start bridging that divide between Black and brown. All right, folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's shift gears. Let's talk to our esteemed medical doctor, Dr. Bridget, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. Stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We truly, truly appreciate it. And you can be a part of the conversation, not just by watching us, by joining us in the chat and being a part of the great culture crew for the day. And once you get there, trust me, you trust and believe you're going to want to keep coming back because you got fantastic thinkers and scholars and researchers and just people who just love to have these conversations in the chat. So go to Roland Martin's YouTube page, join us in the chat, be a culture crew member for the day. If you are able to, you want to drop a little something in the bucket for us, you can certainly do that, folks. That would be great. And just be a part of the great and esteemed Bring the Funk fan club. You can do that at level 1, level 2, whatever you decide, whatever your heart desires, you can do that. But also go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media, but your financial support is what powers us in this digital space. So we truly, truly appreciate you watching. And more importantly, we appreciate you investing in this Black-owned medium. All right, folks, let's switch gears a little bit, talking a little bit about what's going on in the prisons and in the streets, to talking about what's going on with our health and well-being. And we do that every Monday here with our esteemed medical doctor, Dr. Bridget Cole Williams, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. Good afternoon, Dr. Bridget. How are you today?
Great. It's great to see you, Farajii.
It's great to see. Are you wearing black?
I am. Why? Is that weird? Oh, we. Well, it wasn't last week. Was it blue last week? Oh my goodness. We really don't plan this. And I don't wear black that often, do I? I don't
I
think
know
so.
you don't. You don't. You don't.
That's
You always
funny.
wear something. This is getting it's a little weird. All right, that just struck for me. Anyway, Dr. Bridget, as
Yes.
always, it's good to connect with you. You got a lot of
Yes.
things on the agenda, so let's jump right in.
Yes.
Because of course I was happy to see this because you are on the cutting edge of keeping us abreast about everything that's happening with some of those big medical conversations. The big one has been sickle cell, which is I remember when you came on the show a few weeks ago, you were talking to us about this gene therapy procedure. Now it looks like it is moving.
FDA approved. Yes.
That is. That's
Yes.
huge. Is that
Yes.
how
It
big
is
is that though,
huge.
Doc? How big is it?
So this is big because up until now, the treatments that are available for sickle cell have been not impressive, let's say, at the least. And as far as any sort of cure, we were talking about bone marrow replacement, and that was really for the youngest of people with sickle cell, mainly for people under 12 years old or under 15 years old. And so now we actually have a treatment that's been approved by the FDA, which is actually a gene therapy treatment, which we were talking about a few weeks ago, that is for 12 years and up. So when I think about my family, when I think about my patients, I see a lot of sickle cell people simply just being in the cannabis space, seeking pain relief away from opioids, that to have something that could actually edit the gene that causes the mutation of the hemoglobin that causes these issues and can be effective is really, really exciting. So I can't wait to really connect with people, learn more about this as it becomes available, and really how it changes so many medical treatments for so many Black people in this country and
All
outside.
right, so now that this big announcement has been made, Doc, what's the next step? Because now I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of like different procedures. So patients are going to have to qualify for this therapy treatment. How does that break down?
Absolutely. So it's really about reaching out to their hematologist, learning to see what's available. There's really two different options here, the Casgevy and I'm sure I'm butchering this, so I apologize, and the Life Genia, which is both gene editing treatments that would be due by transfusion to actually change how your body is actually removing the mutation in the hemoglobin that causes these issues, that causes the clogging and the pain. This is really meant for the people that have severe vaso-occlusive sickling disorder and end up in the hospital often. But they should connect with their hematologist, find out what's available in your area, find out what your insurance companies will allow. But the fact that it's FDA approved, this can be life changing and generationally life changing for so many. So I will definitely give you more updates as more information is shared.
So, how many Black folks, are there particular numbers? Like, how many Black folks suffer from this disease as it stands now?
Right. So when we're talking about who's going to be able to obtain this, we're talking about approximately over 100,000 people in the U.S.
Okay.
That most of them, of course, are African Americans. There's a small percentage that are actually Hispanic Americans. We're talking about over 100,000 people in the U.S. that will be able to benefit from this treatment and be cured from something that has probably stalled a lot of people's lives. So,
Absolutely.
what I think when we think about famous people, I always think about, TLC and T-Boz, who
Hmm.
had so many difficulties with her health, with her pregnancies. Um, and then you also have to consider the fact that if you marry someone that has the gene for this and you carry that gene as well, that now you have to be concerned about your children having this and the difficulties that can happen. So this is exciting. This, like I said, it can change generations.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick pause, but CC Knight wanted to check in. She
Mhm.
said, "How will it be made affordable, Doc? Is this something? I know you mentioned that your insurance companies, that could take some while to, for insurance companies to now, create a space for that in your premiums and in your plans and everything. But is
Right.
there any particular cost that's been
Yeah,
determined yet for this?"
yeah, no, I haven't seen the numbers yet, of course. And,
Right.
one thing I don't think people often realize that the numbers can be very dependent on where you go. I think people think that
Mm.
pharmaceuticals are the same at every single pharmacy, that procedures maybe cost the same because people are doing the same thing for the most part, right? But it's not necessarily true. So, but like I said, you start with your hematologist, find out what's going on there, check with your insurance company, and we take it from there.
That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big plus. Like you said, it's a big deal. It's a big plus for those who suffer from the disease, and it's a long time coming. And if it's going to change the lives of hundreds of thousands of people,
Hmm.
then I think it's well worth it. We got to take a quick
Yes.
pause. When we come forward, let's continue to have the conversation with our very own Dr. Bridget Cole Williams. Let's talk about, even before being diagnosed, what happens when you walk into the doctor's office. Now there is a phenomenon that is existing among Black folks that say that when they go to the doctor's office, they have to dress up. It's becoming a must to dress up before you go to see your doctor. So that way you're going to be treated differently and better. We're going to talk about this phenomenon with Dr. Bridget and, of course, with you. Stay tuned. We're going to have that conversation and a whole lot more when we come forward right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is
is.
Oh, no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Checking in with our doctor, Dr. Bridget Cole Williams, for this week's Reclaiming the Wellness. And we just talked a little bit about the major announcement coming from the FDA that approved gene therapy for sickle cell disease. And it's a major breakthrough for patients across this country, especially Black folks who have been suffering from this disease. Just have been, I was reading, Doc, it was talking about this, the pain level when you do have sickle cell is so high, it's almost unbearable in some cases.
And then you
And
also have to consider what happens, how there's necrosis of joints. Like it's not just you have pain, sickling, and you're done, but there's additional side effects that occur over time, that a breakdown of your joints, necrosis of it. In young people, in very young people, you start seeing this. So to have something that can eliminate these issues and allow them a normal life is gosh, it's a long time coming, like you said. In addition to that, with the last question about how much is it going to cost, and we don't really quite know yet, because the gene therapy is highly expensive. So right now, your average patient probably spends about $44,000 in their life treating, out of pocket, trying to treat, sickle cell. And so up until this point, on average, the hospital's insurance companies look about 1.2 million. This procedure alone is about 2.2 million. But that obviously that is not what you are going to be paying from your insurance.
right.
So I think the downfall, and it's probably the next thing that we'll end up talking about, is that they will likely limit how many people can get this right off the bat, so that the costs are not extraordinary for hospitals and what have you. That might be obviously an issue, because if this were me or my immediate family, I would want to know as much as I can, as quickly as I can, to help to help my loved one, right? But keep in mind, some insurance companies will cover it and some won't. So if this affects you, you're going to want to do your research. We are still in open enrollment right now, and so that can get really tricky. But if this is something that affects you greatly, start doing your research, find out who's covering it, find out what you need to do to help save your loved one's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's a question from You Don't Like My Music. He asks, question for Doc. I read a medical theory that claims all pain is caused by inflammation. Is that true?
Yes and no. Like, a great deal of pain is caused from inflammation, and so I don't disagree with that. But pain is an alarm in your head, right? It is basically your brain saying something isn't right, something's happened, there's been an injury. And so is every pain directly related to an inflammatory process? Not necessarily. It is P substance that literally travels up your neurons and tells you an incident has happened. Ongoing pain often is related to inflammation. And so I do agree with that. But every pain in itself, I think I might be overspeaking if I said that.
Okay. Okay. ABX girl pointed out, Doc, she said, and good to connect with you once again, the ABX girl. She said, The news mentioned 1.2 million if the Affordable Care Act goes. If a Trump is elected, we do not have a chance.
Oof.
Is that generally how I mean, is that a concern with you and your colleagues that like, okay, this, even though we're making some strides, but it's still under the Affordable Care Act. So if Trump is elected, then we might have to start from ground zero all over again. Is that a concern that you have as a doctor?
I mean, I am not living in and I'm sure, God help me that I don't have to eat my words. He's not getting reelected. So can I say that? I mean,
Yeah,
I just cannot allow that to be the truth, or that people's livelihood or life sits in the balance of someone who really does. I'm about to be Kanye on here, and Trump does not like Black people. Okay. And if that should not be a determining point about how well our healthcare system is running. That should not be a deciding point. So what I will say is that if you're within the Affordable Healthcare Act, that's probably going to have an effect, because they're probably going to limit how much money is spent through that. But there's also private insurance, and that is outside of that and will probably not be affected by that directly. So yeah, it's expensive without a doubt. But just because it's, like I was saying, the Cas Jevi particularly is 2.2 million. Obviously, that doesn't mean you're paying the 2.2 million. We really have to see, what does that actually mean? And any early new treatment is going to be expensive. So there might be a case where you're waiting for the next year, or and many of us often say, I'm not the guinea pig. So I
Right.
am going to wait for the next year or two, see how it goes, see how people are affected before I get involved. So we really have to see how things go. And if you are at a research hospital, things are sometimes very different than if you're going out into, obviously, private care. So, the more I know, the more I'll share with you.
And I mean, just a quick thought, and I know we got to take another pause. You said a research hospital. Is there a
Mhm.
difference?
There are hospitals that are funded, have numerous a research teaching hospital has research departments, has numerous residents. They're basically involved, their care involves the growth of medical knowledge. Okay. Versus, let's say, there's smaller hospitals that may have some residents, but for the most part, our staff physicians don't necessarily have a research department or funding. And so, yeah, every hospital is not a research or teaching hospital.
Okay. Okay. And will that does is that something that folks should be aware of? Like, should they go to the hospital? Should they start to be very specific about the hospital they want to go to for treatment?
I think it depends on what you're experiencing and why, right? So when you're
Okay.
talking about cutting edge new treatments, you probably want to be in a space like that. I know a lot of people will often say, I don't want, a new physician, a resident treating me. But to be totally honest, it usually means you have multiple eyes on you versus a small group, the nurse, the doctor, maybe another, nurse practitioner. When you're in a teaching hospital, you have numerous eyes watching, reading, paying attention, coming up with theories about how to get you better. Versus in a small hospital where there's no teaching, you basically have the people there that are hired to take care of you. So if I had something severe going on, I would want to be at a teaching research hospital.
That makes sense. I never thought about that, Doc. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never thought about that. I came from, of course, Baltimore, Johns Hopkins, University of
Mhm.
Maryland, out here,
Yeah, but you're
Cedar
used to that.
Sinai. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And out here, Cedar Sinai and everything. So I never thought about the eyes. And it makes sense. That makes a world of difference when you have all these people coming in as, and I've seen it and I experienced it. You start to feel like you're a test tube. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
People are looking at you. You got like 4 or 5 people. You're not looking at your best. You're not feeling your best. But you have these eyes on you. People are checking
Right.
in on you.
I
And that could be the difference
clearly
between life and death.
remember, absolutely, I clearly remember being a brand new, I mean, real new resident in a hospital, an intern, and catching things that my attendings were not catching because they're moving quick and they're moving fast. And I'm literally told to sit there and read all the notes on this one patient, right? And so I remember clearly there was a woman they were discharging, and I said, she can't leave. Like there's something more going on with her. And of course, they're all like, you don't know, we have to get her out, the money, blah, blah, blah. She literally ended up having a pulmonary embolism right at the time of discharge, because what I saw was that she had a severe case of breast cancer, and she ended up having a pulmonary embolism and in the ICU. And that's just one story, right?
Dang.
But a lot of people.
Did she get better? Did she get the treatment?
She did, but it was because they were not doing a thorough exam. And I can't even truly remember why she was in there originally. I, as the intern, come in and, they kind of like throw you in places at times, right? And I was doing this thorough exam, and she had a classic sign of severely, long, outstanding breast cancer. And I'm sitting there like, why am I the only one knowing this? Why don't I see this in the notes? I go to my chief resident and I said, she shouldn't leave. This is severe. And everyone was like, no, money, this or that, whatever. And before they could get her out, she had a pulmonary with the cancer. It's a related complication. And so, there's so many things I'll never forget in those instances. But being in a teaching hospital isn't bad. It's not bad.
Right,
People don't like the idea of a resident being there, and it's not a bad idea.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure you definitely saved that woman's life by picking up on that. That's awesome. All right, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about this new phenomenon of dressing up. Is it suit and tie type of dress up? No, but there is a new phenomenon that's showing that Black people, once again, we're going to have to meet a different standard, a new standard, so that way we can be seen and treated as adults, as human beings, when we walk to see our doctors. I'm going to share with you the latest about this phenomenon. Also, let's talk about mental health and the effects of colorism, as Nick Cannon has come out and has done something completely against the culture. And we're going to hear from Dr. Bridget, because she got some strong opinions about this. And of course, I want to hear from you, crew. So stay with me. Those conversations are up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to the Culture here on the Black Star Network. I got to ask you folks a question. How many of you really dress up or present yourself in a very professional manner before you go to see your doctor? If not, you may consider doing so. And this is based on a new study of a phenomenon where more Black people are becoming aware and are making the decision to present themselves in a more professional manner before seeing their doctor. According to a new survey, the KFF survey of nearly 6,300 patients who have had care in the past 3 years, they found that about 55% of Black adults feel they have to be very careful about their appearance to be treated fairly by doctors and other health providers. Nearly half of American Indian, Alaska Native, and Hispanic patients feel similarly, as do about 4 in 10 Asian patients. By comparison, 29% folks of white people survey crew said they worried about their appearance before appointments. And many Black people from racial and ethnic minority groups brace themselves for insults and judgments before medical appointments based upon this survey. I want to bring our medical expert, Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams, back into this for this this part of the conversation. What the hell, Doc? See, and so I'm gonna share this, and I want to get your take on it. There's the executive director of the group, the National Minority Health Association, wrote in an email in response to this report. His name is Burgess Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
And Burgess said that in 2023, the notion that any person must prepare for discrimination is sad on one hand and angering on the other. The stress that this causes, in addition to whatever health issue involved, is crazy. We know Burgess is Black, because the only Black folks to be like, this shit is crazy.
Right,
So
right.
it's crazy. I have never heard of this, but then when I saw this story, I was like, I got to talk to Dr. Bridget about this. Is this a problem? Is this a real thing?
Okay, so when you sent this over to me, so that and if you don't know, there's like a whole way that Farajii and I go through what we're going to talk about, and we send stuff back and forth all week, and
She basically stays on my head, y'all. Dr. Bridget has rent in my head because I'm thinking about stories and conversations. Then I got to think about, what would Dr. Bridget like to talk? Go ahead. I'm
Right,
sorry.
right. So I hesitate because this is the way it's always been. That's the part that's very confusing for me. This is, as Black people, we have to dress up to go to, we have to dress up to go to the doctor. We have to dress up to go to the bank. We got to dress up to go to the gas station. If you like, this is what has been ingrained in me. And I think it's been ingrained in so many of us that if we want to be seen as legitimate parts of society that are there for appropriate reasons, we have conversations all the time about you can't wear the hoodie. Well, the opposite side of don't wear the hoodie or don't wear the face mask, which I think we talked about last week, is that you actually have to dress up. And when you say that you don't have to wear the suit, actually, I mean, that's how I grew up. My grandfather put a suit on to go to the doctor. And no, should it have to be that way? It should not. You shouldn't have to dress up to avoid discrimination. But if I taught my children, you can't wear pajama pants and get the same treatment that your friends do. You can't go to these places and get the same treat. That is the society we live in. I'm confused about the fact that someone thinks this is new information.
Because it's not a part of our culture, though, Doc. And I'm just saying, like you just referenced your grandparents, right? And maybe
Mhm.
even our parents to some degree,
Mhm.
depending on who your parents are and how they grew up. This
Mhm.
was the norm. But to us, for those of us who are adults today, dressing up for the doctor so that way we can be taken seriously, I never thought about it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never thought about it. But it's crazy. I'm going back to Burgess and say it's crazy. Why do I have to? I'm going to see you about what's going on the inside, and you're worried about how I'm being presented on the outside. So that way you don't have a bias about what's going on the inside.
I mean, I can't tell you the patients that I've had over the years that have seen a colleague of mine, have felt discrimination, have felt unseen, unheard. They find out that I'm there. Unfortunately, I got to the point where I was being triple booked at one point. And
Damn.
so they come in to see me to get a legitimate diagnosis because the woman comes in and she, has an itchy rash, blah, 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 on her arm or on her back. And, oh, well, you have scabies. This doesn't look like
Mm,
scabies. Your history doesn't, nothing about this says scabies. But the doctor they saw just said, oh, here's this Black woman, blah, blah, blah. And she had eczema, like everybody else, what? But
right, right. So
those are the
common. Right,
problems that happen, right?
right.
And the fact of the matter is, do I go out of my way to dress up for a lot? Yes and no, but I will tell you, it's always in the back of my mind. It's always in the back of my mind that if I don't have the right appearance, that I'm probably going to have to do a little bit more articulating to be able to express my point so that I get fair and equal treatment.
So
This
why
is
is it though? Okay, here's my pushback. Here's my pushback now.
okay.
Well, one is once again the goal line for us is moved up, right? Like we now there's another standard that Black folks in particular are going to have to meet just by simply visiting the doctor's office. That we must be of us, and I'm not saying you got to go in your house coats, and your pajamas and slippers, and your do rag or your bonnet on.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that. But if I'm having a t-shirt and jeans, I should be treated the same way. Now, I don't like to work from a space of I should be, I wish I was, I could have, because that gets us nowhere to me. So I've got to
Mhm.
work out of a space of what the reality currently is. And it's just interesting that we put more emphasis on the patient instead of telling these doctors, hey, you know what? If we find that you have a level of implicit bias and there's a pattern of bias in your
Mhm.
diagnosis of
Yes.
patients, you're going to
Mhm.
lose your license.
Wouldn't that be
Like what?
something?
Like why do we penalize the victim? It's like in sexual assault cases and other things. Like we penalize the victim for just simply being instead of penalizing the behavior of the perpetrator, or in this case, the doctor.
I think at the end of the day, it's what's documented in the notes. It is the good old boys club. I don't care how many women are in medicine, it's still the old boys club that determines how any of these rules are followed. Um, the powers that be that really police us in so many words, the medical boards, do you think they care about that? Like, I just don't. Yes, they're supposed to protect the patient. They're supposed to police the physicians and medical staff. But do you know how much would change if that was the reality? So much would change.
So
And
much.
I would love to get to a point where you cannot have that behavior. But at the end of the day, you're seeing this patient. It's what's documented in your notes is weighed heavily. And uh, if people assume that I get better care because I'm a physician, and I will tell you, there are times where I share that I'm a physician, and there are times that I don't share that I'm a physician. And I can't say I get better care one way or the other. I think people that are biased, that see you as less, see you as less. I don't know. I don't care what crown you tend to want to wear on your head or what
That's true. That's
outfits you
true.
want to put on. I mean, that's the problem. If it was so easy that wearing that suit changed everything, we'd all be wearing suits all day long.
All
But
day.
it doesn't. It doesn't.
That's
It
and
doesn't.
come on, Doc. Say it again for the people in the chat. It
Look,
doesn't.
it doesn't. I mean, and keep in mind, as Black people, we tend to be very conspicuous people. One, because there was a time that we were not allowed. It was
Right.
really important that my grandparents bought a Cadillac. I'm from Detroit. It was real
Right.
important that they had a Cadillac because we could work in the factories, but we couldn't buy the car. So we tend to be very conspicuous people in our appearance and in what we purchase, sometimes to a fault, because there was a point in time that historically, generationally, we tend to buy these more extravagant things because there was a point in time we could not. But the fact of the matter is, are we treated better because of it? And if you are not treated better because of it, keep your money in your pocket and find a place that will see you for who you are, no matter what you are wearing. And that is the problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Karen Connor, you said I always dress in nice, comfortable clothing when going to the doctor. There isn't a need for professional dress. The doctors are very casual, sometimes too casual. I see them,
This is
they
true.
wear jeans themselves.
This is
Um,
true.
Janelle, you checked in and said Farajii, physical appearance is assessed as a measure of self-care. That's the fact.
But I think
If
we're
you
talking
sick,
above that, aren't we? We're talking
right,
not
right, right.
just of what you would wear, because that's who you are and you want to look nice when you leave the house in the morning. I don't think we're talking about that. I think the point is that we're talking about specifically being aware that, gosh, I'm going to see the doctor and I know this is about medicine, but I'm going to the doctor, I'm going to the bank, I have to make sure that I have a certain appearance, because if I do not, I might not get that loan. I might not get appropriate care. I might be seen less than that. But I mean, of course, I would like to think we all wear, you know, appropriate clothing for whatever the situation is. We're talking about going a step above that.
And that's crazy. I got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's get more thoughts from our crew about this as we're talking about the phenomenon of Black folks feeling like they have to dress up in order to get fair and equitable treatment in the doctor's office. We'll continue to talk about that. Plus, let's talk about what Nick Cannon is on as
Mm-mm,
he
mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I don't know what Nick Cannon is on, but we're going to talk about the mental health of colorism as he once again puts a little something in the pot for that. Stay with us. It's more to come at you right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Checking in with our medical expert here, Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness, talking about getting dressed for the doctors. As a new survey shows that this is becoming a must-do for Black patients in order to get the respect and to be treated fairly with the situation. Very quickly, people are just in the chat, Doc, not happy. A lot of people like, you know what? They can go to hell with this.
That's probably the best answer. That's the best answer.
Right. You know what? I'm gonna get a new doctor. How about that? If you can't treat me based upon me, and I gotta come in here and impress you, please, I'll just get a new doctor.
Thank you.
I'll just get a new doctor because this is getting too much.
It's the more we do that, the more we fill out that complaint box, the more we move over to other. If we're quiet in how we feel about this, nothing will change. But to be able to say, I felt unfairly treated, not addressed. My pain, I was quickly assumed to be drug seeking. That, talking about sickle cell earlier, that's a huge, huge problem for sickle cell patients, that they're assumed to be drug seeking when they actually have real pain. That, or like looking at pregnancy patients, 10% of them are told that they're drug seeking instead of actually having pain during labor. And so we need to be vocal about this. I'm definitely in a place where the healthcare system needs to change, because the good folks are leaving. The doctors are leaving. You got COVID, the doctors are leaving, the nurses are leaving. They're looking for alternative ways to take their education, and without the stress and pressure that's occurred in our current health system, we have an opportunity to create a new system, but we
Absolutely.
can't do it alone. So this is the opportunity. If you go in and you feel like, hey, I felt in, all you have to do is fill out that complaint card. Because if you do it and more
I love
people
it.
do it, it will gain attention. Because now that doctor went from being, let's be honest, an asshole, to being a liability. And nobody
Woo!
likes a lawsuit.
There
Okay.
it is.
So
That's
don't
true.
be the secret shopper in your medical visits. You know, be able to go in there and dress, be you, you know, don't hit the nines trying to go in there. Just be you. And if you feel like this has been inappropriate, if you feel like there's a little education that is needed, fill out. Every hospital, they have some sort of complaint system. Do it, because that's how we can change healthcare.
I love all of your recommendations. I love all of them. And I think that for the crew, y'all hearing Dr. Bridget, I'm hearing Dr. Bridget, don't change yourself. Like, we have been jumping through hoops of fire. We've had to climb the tallest mountains. We have to done
Mm-mm.
all this. And so at some point we gotta say enough is enough.
Enough
At
is enough.
some point, it's enough is enough. Like, man, if I come up in this month with some t-shirts and sweats on, I expect you to look at my health. Don't ask me questions like, get all snide and snarky and all of that.
Mhm.
Because in 2023 going into 2024, you might get busted in the mouth.
Yeah. Honestly,
I'm,
it's a
I'm, I'm
different
serious.
world.
I'm serious.
It's
Like, you
different.
can't just you look. Black folks we getting tired. You know what I'm saying? Black folks are tired. We like, look, man. We've been doing this for a long time. We've been trying to live by y'all rules for too long. We're not doing
Mhm.
this no more. And somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah,
Somebody's going to get hurt. We might start having some John Q situations. Like, yo, yeah, yeah.
I
Tell
hear
me I'm
you.
denied health care again. Say that to my face again, Doc.
And the fact of the matter
I
is,
hope right.
during a time that we have mu- I just to be totally honest, the Trumpers are much more vocal, right? Like during the 80s, we were told everyone should be politically correct. Remember, politically correct. Don't say this, don't say that. And there was this hush hush about how the majority really felt. Okay. But they have been empowered. And now that they're empowered, you're seeing things happen. You're seeing interactions that really have not been as plentiful and
Right.
obvious as they were, let's say, a couple decades ago, right? So we have to, well, we can't give people the benefit of the doubt anymore, because they are not giving us the benefit of the doubt. And there are things in place, and there are organizations that want to make sure that we're getting quality care. The Black organizations in the medical space are trying to support Black healthcare professionals. And we can make changes if you're vocal about your experiences.
Absolutely.
That's where the
Absolutely.
change begins.
To end this, Ming Lee Natasha Surge, you said, I'm not putting on my Donna Karen, Boss, and Gucci to be seen by a doctor who's wearing Old Navy. Okay.
Oh, you have to say all.
Dr. Old Navy, get your ass out of here, sir.
Ooh, ooh, that was rough. That was rough.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Nick Cannon for a few minutes.
Oh,
Nick Cannon, one of
no,
pop culture's favorite people to talk about. Father of 13,
I
14.
think.
I think.
Hmm.
I think he's at 14. I think he's about to get to 14. I think another one of his baby mamas is pregnant again. Can't keep up. Apparently, though, he's still getting jobs, so he's still getting money because he got to pay for these kids. Who going to look after these kids? Now he's facing allegations of colorism for a controversial new promotion, where as part of at least let's pull up the announcement very quickly, just to look at this, folks.
Look at that.
He did a
Look at that.
promotion, Bad versus Wild in Las Vegas, dark skinned girls and dark skinned women, excuse me, versus light skinned women.
So I saw this pop up on social media, and immediately I sent it to you
Yep.
because, again, is this really happening in this day and age? And how is he allowed to? He's also the guy that told us not to go and vote a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I've never not been a fan of Nick Cannon. I mean, he's had a great career, what have you, but I think he's not good for us anyway. This is ridiculous. This is dangerous.
You know what? Hey, look. Hey, Doc, I gotta say this. I'm so sick of this, and I might be judgy, but I think God gave us all the ability to make a judgment for a reason. Because so people always say, "Oh, you can't be judgy." He gave us. We can judge. There just has to be some standards on how we judge, but we can judge, folks. And in this case, I'm just sick and tired of fake black consciousness. And then one moment, and then you got some bullshit on the other moment. You know what I'm saying? Like if you are saying that you are quote unquote for the people, you for the culture, you woke, whatever terminology you use to show that you are in an enlightened space, then that doesn't change. That doesn't change. It just simply becomes a part of you. It's not trendy. It's not
Right.
something that you like a coat you put on for the winter and then take off during the summer. It does not change. And I remember seeing Nick Cannon doing this dope like visual poetry piece that he did during the height of the killing of black men. This is, I think, around the time of George Floyd or a little bit before George Floyd. And people were like, "Oh, Nick about to come." Then you see this shit, and you like, yo, I hate fake black consciousness, man. I just hate it. Like, and then you talk about for the cultures for women, and then at the it's always when stuff like this happens, it's at the expense of black women. Because you ain't say in your picture the Irish against the
Italian or
Italians. Oh, you ain't put white women on the cover like that. You didn't say that. You put the black, the dark skin versus the light skin, and we're gonna have them duke it out. Or whatever I don't think they're fighting. I think it's just
it's probably like jokes. Like I think
jokes
it's like
and stuff like that.
Out.
But at the expense of black women, again, here's a black man. You already showing you're irresponsible or quote unquote that you got all these children. Like, bro, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing?
I'll be honest, there's not a lot of stuff that makes me leave the comfort of my home. I would picket that. How dare you? I mean, we have enough divisiveness in our community as it is. And not only are you doing this colorism, I don't care how old you are, it's obvious this is a problem, okay? And then you want to put women again. We have so many other issues. Why perpetuate this one? How dare you? How dare you have a platform and to minimize us in this way and then not be cognizant of how this hurts us mentally as women, as black people?
Let me ask you this question very quickly because I know we're at the end. What is the major mental health effect of colorism? What's the damage that's done to a woman or a man that suffers from colorism or exposed to colorism?
So if you're on the outward group, the group that is struggling the most with this, right? The ones that are seen as the negative color. And we've seen the videos where small children want the white doll and not the black doll, and the black dolls, like, we've seen these videos, we've seen these studies, so you cannot tell me he doesn't know what this is about. But the fact of the matter, it damages your core belief of your self-worth. How dare you do that? And so between the fact that it can lead to some levels of alcoholism, substance abuse, PTSD, how you see yourself concept, your attractiveness, your upward mobility. He lost a fan. If nothing else, I cannot even imagine him putting any content out there that is worthy of the Black community at this point.
See, he does all of that grinning and jiving on them big network shows, and then he comes to the cities and he does this bullshit.
No,
and it's not acceptable. You know what I'm saying? Like at some point, I was just having a conversation about this with another sister over the weekend. Like at some point, when do we say enough is enough in terms of how we want our culture to be presented? You know what I'm saying? Like, and because I was talking to the sister about hip hop, and I know we got to close out. And I was saying there's a reckoning coming to hip hop right now. Even at the year that we celebrate 50 years of hip hop, look at all the stuff that is happening right now, whether it's Young Thug, whether it's Diddy, whether it's this talk about hip hop artists and their luxurious, lavish lifestyles that is completely disconnected from the people who listen to their music. All of this stuff is coming to a head right now. And I'm all here for it. I'm going to tell y'all, I'm here for it. I love the culture. I'm a part of the culture. We talk about the culture, but there's some elements of our culture that are so destructive and so that keep us back from the overall liberation of Black people in this country. And whether it's because of the artist's intent or whether it's because of the powers that be that support the artist, it's becoming a real problem. So I'm not, look, if a Joker got to lose out on some opportunities, money, if he got to get hit, man, I don't care, because I don't want my daughter and my son to grow up in this type of situation when you got predators. Absolutely. And then you got to feel bad. And it's all perpetuated at the hands of Black men or ignorance. Man, shit, hell no. They need to go. So Nick Cannon, if you could take the L with Nick.
Done. Don't go over there. Don't buy a ticket.
If you're in Las Vegas, if y'all want to tell the young sisters in your family, hey, Nick Cannon coming. He want a girl. He doing black, light skin versus dark skin. That look crazy. That looks absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. All right, Doc. We gotta go. But I truly appreciate you. Make sure y'all follow Dr. Bridget on all her social media. Dr. Bridget info. What's the best way that they can follow you on Instagram and on Twitter and everything you're doing?
Absolutely. At Dr. Bridget, MD. And we will be doing Healthy Relationships Only at 6 p.m. Eastern today, talking about when outside influences get involved in your relationship.
Woo! Woo! That includes social media?
All of it. When they get involved, when you let it get in there,
yeah, that's facts. There it is, y'all. Follow Dr. Bridget. She joins us every Monday, unless she's doing something around the world. But she joins us every Monday here on The Culture. We truly appreciate her expertise and just her overall understanding of the culture. Dr. Bridget, thank you for being so good for the culture. We thank you, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. All right, you're welcome. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you for joining me for the conversation. Big shout out to my online culture crew. Y'all came out here in the chat in full support, and so I cannot thank y'all enough. Janae, you say colorism is deep, a discussion to be continued. Absolutely. Absolutely. And many of you, Brother David, you say you love the doc. Absolutely. She gives us always something. She gave us, Cindy, you said doctor gave us a word today. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. All right, so make sure y'all follow her on social media. Also go to our social media at blackstarnetwork.com or Black Star Network. You can follow us on social media there. And of course, go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media. And of course, give something, put something in the pot to help power us in this digital space. And make sure y'all follow me at The Real Farajii. You can follow me on Instagram at The Real Farajii and all social media platforms. Bing, there it is right there. There's that guy. And I would love to connect with you and continue to build the community of the Culture Crew as well. That's going to do it for me. Stay tuned. Up next is Rolling Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Talk to you soon. Peace.